am Cheryl Clinton, known to my friends and family as Cherie. I am a painter and a creative entrepreneur in many ways. I have been painting my whole life, but I guess professionally for about 25 years if you count post college. I did my undergrad at Mass Art in painting and my graduate work at Mass Dartmouth in painting as well. I am inspired by the magic of light in nature and how it plays off trees and water and reflections, shadows. Really, the natural world is an endless source of inspiration for me. I work very improvisationally, and I typically have multiple projects or pieces going on at once. I find it, I have fairly fast-moving energy, so I have a lot of small studies and small things that I can kind of start and just move around on. And then through that process, I will, an idea will be sparked or a deadline will be appear and be required, and I'll hone in on a particular element. And if I'm doing smaller pieces, sort of in the 24 square or smaller, I tend to work on panel. And I really like the resistant surface, the hard surface. I do a lot of scraping and pouring and adding and taking off. And I find a hardboard panel or wood panel to really take that abuse, and I don't worry about pulling it. When I work much larger than that, I tend to work on canvas, and my painting process is pretty similar, I guess, in that I usually start by just pushing the paint around and respond to what's happening on the surface, and then take it from there. Sometimes things go the way I think they're going to. Sometimes they don't, and I respond accordingly. I would say most consistently is a palette knife. I use to mix my paint and apply the paint and scrape it off. I do a lot of work with a spray bottle. I work in water-based media mostly, and so I do a lot of sort of moving, pouring the paint or wetting down or applying with a brush and then wetting with a spray and dancing around to see what happens. I often will sort of print off the surface, especially in the beginning when I'm not really sure. If I don't have a clear path for the piece, I'll just play and see what happens and then respond to that. So palette knife, spray bottle, and I have a couple of big brushes that are favorites. The timeline for a painting is a frequently asked question and often difficult to answer. So it's anywhere from an hour or two to a couple of years, plus 25 years. Because I feel like my cumulative knowledge of all the painting I've done over, the course of time, that really informs how I work now, and my process tends to be much faster now than it ever has been. And some pieces just flow. Everything works and it just comes together magically. Others take a little more labor and a little more time, or often feel somewhat unfinished. I have a few pieces that I actually have taken to putting a timeline on the back. Like I may have started it in 2010 and it's been kicking around, and I really liked it, but it didn't fit. It was like a missing piece. It didn't go with anything, and it was sort of, I liked it, but I knew it wasn't finished. And then all of a sudden I'll pull it out and go, oh, I know what to do with this now. This matches what I'm doing now. It was a foreshadowing, or sometimes it's a throwback, and so I can add a little bit, take a little bit away, and then so we'll put. So I think I have a couple pieces that are like early 2000s, and then a more recent through 2018 and 19. I'm feeling more like I am in constant dialogue with the work now. Some older pieces, I work in a cyclical manner. So there are certain themes and rhythms that come up over time and may or may not be fully resolved. And then I put them away to work on something else, and then they come back up, and I now have enough time. I can look backwards far enough at my work to recognize some of those patterns, and really working to sort of bring those series together in a thematic way that doesn't necessarily rely on a particular year or time. Again, my name is Cheryl Clinton, otherwise known as Cherie, and thank you so much for joining me today. You can find more information at my website, cclinton.com. You can follow me on Instagram at ClintonPaint.